Ben and Frank here from Man of Many. We're going to talk all things Watches and Wonders 2025. We're holding the fort down here in Sydney while our compatriots Rob and John are over there in Geneva at Watches and Wonders, getting all of the on-the-ground footage. We're going to talk all things Cartier, Rolex, etc. We're going to break down all the brands. I'm going to pick Frank's brains a little bit about some of his favorite releases and what he thinks is happening over there. Let's get into it. I just want to start, Frank, with what Watches and Wonders is like when you're over there. I haven't been there. We've got Rob, branded content editor, and John, head of social, over there at the moment, experiencing this. It's Rob's second time, John's first time, but you've been there before, so I just want to know what it's like.
Yes, I have been there before. So just to backtrack, Watches and Wonders, one of the world's biggest watch fair. Used to be SIHH, which was exclusively for the Richemont Group, which is the parent company of brands like IWC, Panerai, Jaeger-LeCoultre, Cartier, and some other independent brands. It's now expanded into Watches and Wonders, where they have the addition of brands like Rolex, and other independent brands joining the party. But it's a massive event where they convert this exhibition center into like mini showrooms for each of the brands, and they spend big on this. They spend so much money on their stalls to make it as grand and as flashy as possible. You go from brand to brand, speaking to their ambassadors, some of the watchmakers, and they talk about their new releases. So it's a big showcase of all of the releases for the year ahead.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere 60 brands are there this year.
Yeah.
Was it as big when you were there?
It was pretty big. I don't think it was quite 60, but yeah, it's always been quite a big event.
How many people do you reckon? Like, is it packed constantly?
There's thousands. I'm not sure about the format at the moment. Like previously, it was mostly attended by media as well as people in the watch industry, so jewelers and watch retailers as well. They would go along there and they would see the new releases and put in their orders for the upcoming year. It's kind of evolved over time now with the digitization of everything. You know, journalists would go over there and get their stories for the year ahead. But now with social media, you know, it's just one big bang where everyone's putting out all their content, everyone's getting their stories, everything's going live all at once. Yeah,
it's hectic. I think even holding down the fort here is insane, but I think the hardest thing for Rob when he's over there and trying to cover a lot of these releases is just finding the time to both see the watches and touch them and feel them and bring that information out to the audience, but also just sit there and write the articles. It's tough. Every single year he mentions just how hard it is to do that, but it's obviously an exciting event. What's some of the cool things you get to do when you're over there? So I think you've visited some manufacturers in the past.
Yeah, so the watch fair itself is just very busy. As a journalist, when you're there, you're just back-to-back meeting different people from different brands, and it's very exhausting. You get up early in the morning, it's dark, you go inside, you leave, it's still dark, you've had no sleep. There's some little snacks, some champagne, some coffee while you're in there. So there'll be a lot of tired heads there. A lot of the brands, they'll put on some additional events. So after hours and stuff, they'll have some big gala dinners or some presentations or cocktail nights. There's some fondue parties and that kind of thing. So
fondue parties.
Yeah. So
that's a core memory, I think.
Yeah. Well, I don't like cheese, so that's my worst nightmare.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, some of these events are quite, extravagant. I remember going to an IWC dinner and looking at the table across, and Bradley Cooper was sitting there, and
Crazy.
Albert Black was up on stage performing. So
wow. Yeah, they go all out.
They go all out, and a lot of these brands do have some big global ambassadors and celebrities who are on their books, so they invite them to the fair as well to put on a bit of a show for everyone.
And they love watches too, a lot of these people. I mean, you sent me that Derek Rose video this morning of him showing off his JLC, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he's a brand ambassador, but I think he just loves watches. I mean, maybe he's a brand ambassador, but I think he just loves watches and he just wants to go to this thing that everyone talks about. So, and when you visit the manufacturers, have you visited Cartier or something? Or JLC?
I've not been to Cartier. I've been to a few brands who aren't actually at Watches and Wonders.
Right.
One thing about Watches and Wonders is that the Swatch Group do not participate rumor is they have a rule that they're not allowed to participate in watch fairs, because there used to be one called Basel World where all of the Swatch Group brands would go. Yeah. You won't see any brands like Omega, Breguet, Longines.
Yeah, they're not there.
They're not there.
Yeah, okay. They like to send me emails though, even though they're not there. I think Breitling's another one that always turns up in the inbox on when the clock strikes midnight on the 1st of April. But I've heard they've done like some private jet things and some very cheeky off-site things.
A couple of years ago, they hired a commercial jet and invited a bunch of journalists along on that. And the whole jet was branded with Breitling. All of the staff were in Breitling uniforms. It was quite an extravagant activation to put on. It did create quite a buzz.
Wow. Yeah, I think I give it to them. It's a funny one though, because then all the brands that are paying to be there get very annoyed when they see things pop up here and there from other brands that aren't paying to be there. But I guess they're paying for a massive commercial jet, so we'll give it to them. I would happily be on that jet, by the way. What other interesting things have you done? Like when you visit the manufacturers, talk me through that process. So you go off-site to where and how does it work?
So off-site, because obviously Watches and Wonders, it's in Geneva, and you might go off-site before or after the fair to some of the brands that you have a relationship with to go see where the watches are made. So you actually get to go there, you get to speak with the watchmakers, you get to see them making their pieces, and it kind of gives you an insight into what goes into some of these watches. Yeah.
And when you're there is it in an exhibition hall or something? Is it?
Yeah, it's an exhibition hall.
Yeah. And then when you're there, are you racing between brands? Are they trying to or are you just walking around and choosing and picking and choosing what you want to do?
You have a set schedule and there's not much time in between. So you have your schedule and you stick to it. You're just bouncing between brand to brand to brand.
Right.
You're going to a talk where someone is announcing the release of their new watches, or you're having a one-on-one meeting with a little hands-on to touch and feel, or you're going to a session dedicated to capturing some content and taking some photography and video.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Exciting stuff. Should we get into the releases? Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. All right. Let's start with Cartier. Kind of like a pretty underrated release, I reckon, this year from all of them. I think I want to talk tank first, but then we'll get into the guichet. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. My French is not the world's best. Please don't hate me. But let's talk Tank Louis Cartier. So #1 release from them this year. Available yellow gold and rose gold. Slightly larger dimensions and that new caliber 1899 manufacturer caliber. Automatic. So really sort of just classy release, I think, overall. What's your sort of take on it?
Yeah, it's a beautiful watch. The tank is such a classic piece. Just some small refinements on it. Nothing huge, but I think it's just a beautiful watch. It's a great watch. There's nothing groundbreaking or revolutionary about it, but it's just a solid piece.
Who's that guy that he's a big tank guy? I can't remember his name. He wears the glasses. He was in Jurassic Park. Yeah, Jeff Goldblum. How do you say his name? This guy grinds my gears a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Whenever I see him pop, he's always dressed up so nicely, but extravagantly, I reckon. And he's a big tank fan, a big Tank Louis fan. I don't know if they're paying him, but he's constantly rocking these watches. He has a massive tank collection. I was doing an article on all his watches sort of 2 weeks ago. I was working on it, and then all of a sudden, someone gave me a little bit of background news that there might be some Tank Louis stuff coming out, and I instantly thought of Jeff Goldblum when I saw these releases come out. I don't know if he's a yellow gold man or a rose gold man, but I like how the yellow gold's on like a nice alligator strap, and the rose gold on the brown, I reckon, is totally the move. I don't know about the yellow gold on the grey. It's sort of like a dark grey alligator strap. I'm kind of on the fence about that one, but the rose gold on the brown alligator, instantly, that's just Jeff Goldblum in a nutshell, I reckon. And I think we'll see him pop out in that soon on a red carpet. The size, 38 by 27.75. I guess a cool size. I think it'll wear quite well. It's not overly sized. I actually think sometimes people go a little bit wild with the tanks, and they just prefer like a smaller tank, just because I think it's quite like an elongated, obviously rectangular shape to it. But I think 38 will sit pretty nicely on the wrist. And from all the images we've seen online, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's just another size option. I think having the really small The smaller watches are kind of in style at the moment, but when they're quite small, if you do have a big wrist, then it kind of looks a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I think having it slightly larger allows you, with a large wrist, to have a smaller watch that doesn't look completely ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think it's something that I know some Cartier tank fans that have been asking for a slightly bigger one for a while now, and I think it totally fits, and I'm a big fan of it. I also love the fact that they've just gone automatic with it. They could have gone quartz, I guess, but I like the fact that they've sort of catered to like the watch enthusiasts a little bit. I think there's a lot of quartz fans out there, particularly Cartier tank quartz fans, but I don't know. I just like the fact it's automatic. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy. I don't know about you.
They could have gone manual wind as well, but I think, having the automatic.
There's a black lacquer dial manual wound. I think it's a Santos that released, I believe it was last year, maybe a year before. That thing is still just like the goals for me. The fact that it's just like this random offside, like manual wound thing. It's black with a black strap. It's just, that watch is still so hot to me. So this is another good sort of addition. They haven't changed things up too much, I think, this year, but that's cool. Let's do Tank Guichet, and I wish Rob was here to tell me how to pronounce this, or Nick, because Nick's a big French man, but... let's talk these. These are crazy looking. They look like a Gucci watch a little bit. I don't want to say that from the jump, but it's giving me the Gucci vibes. And I'm kind of into it. I think some people were like a little bit on the fence about how these look initially, especially when they came through the office. Everyone's like, ooh, it's a bit interesting. Not really like sure about it, but there's a 950 platinum one with the strangest sort of apertures on the it's just, I don't understand what's happening there. The hours and the minutes are just all over the place, limited to 200 pieces. I'm a big fan of that one. What about you?
Yeah, I love it. I love this design. I think it's great. I think it's the kind of watch, it looks like it could have been designed in 2025 or 1945. It's kind of timeless. It's a bit unique. And it also gives me a bit of like kind of post-apocalyptic vibes. Like it could have been it could have been a part of a costume design from like an 80s movie like RoboCop.
It's very Metropolis,
it's a bit kind of, it's got that Art Deco kind of brutalist as well.
It's like a bit digital too, I think. It kind of looks like, I mean, if this was a digital watch, you'd kind of give it a break as well. But the fact it's this cool automatic thing with, I mean, I think it's just very unique. Is it a fashion watch or is it a watch? Like, what do you think?
It's both. Yeah. I think it's a bit of a tease as well. Like, just having those apertures, having the numbers kind of peek through.
Yeah.
I love it. And I like having that big kind of solid monolithic case.
Monolithic. I like that. Yeah, it looks great. Yeah. I think it's a very cool watch. So far the reception I think has been pretty good to it. I will run through. There's 3 versions. There's a platinum, as I mentioned, limited edition, different aperture on the hours and the minutes there. Kind of all over the place. The hours is like sideways. It's crazy. I mean, which I guess if you're actually looking at it on your wrist, it makes a lot of sense. But when you're looking at a photo and it's vertical, you're like, what's going on there? A rose gold and on a dark grey alligator, and a yellow on a green alligator. So I think my favorite is that yellow gold on the green alligator strap. I don't know, it's baller to me. Like, it's Miami vibes. It's like with the craziest suit in the world, you could pull this off. But I'm a big fan.
I like the platinum for me. Yeah. I think it's cool because it's just kind of understated. It almost looks steel because it's got that brushed finish as well.
It does look. I thought it was steel at first. Yeah. I think the platinum's 950 platinum. It's always the move. Size-wise, 37.6 by 24.8. So good size. I think it's like a nice medium-sized watch. They haven't made it too big. Thickness, though, it's apparently quite a thin watch. We've got 6 mils written down here, which I feel like has to be wrong, but I think the movement itself is 2.1, so that's pretty darn impressive. We'll get into a little bit about the movement. So we're looking at 40, I believe it's 43, 45 power reserve on it. Hand wound though. So is hand wound? What are you feeling on hand wound?
I don't mind hand wound. I don't mind the hand wound of it. What I want to play with, I want to get it in hand and play with the crown, because the crown positioning is quite unique. It's kind of sits in between the case and the end of the strap. Yeah. So I'd like to see how it feels when you stick your fingers in there. You can see there's like a bit of a scalloped finish detail on the end of the case to help you get your fingers in there. So that is quite interesting. I'd like to see how that mechanism, how they've kind of navigated that and been able to create it to still be functional.
Yeah, at 12 o'clock as well, I think, would you have to take this off the wrist to set it? I guess you probably would anyway,
I think
but
so.
yeah, being hand wound too, I guess you're doing that regardless. But yeah, it's an interesting position. I don't know. It actually makes a lot of sense though, because I reckon if it was on the side, it would just not make any sense. It'd be unbalanced, the watch. It's like so well balanced, I think, even that limited edition one where everything's a bit offset. I love the balance of it. I love that gold and green one. Big fan. Is this a casual wear or is this a formal wear?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I think it's both. Yeah, it just depends on how you style it, I suppose.
What do you think the collectors are going to think of this? Is this like an absolute must buy or is this like a bit too strange?
I think it's just a taste thing. I think it's great. I think it's it's some people don't like it. Some people absolutely love it. And I think it's just a personal taste thing.
Yeah, I think I'm in that court. And I love the images too that Cartier's provided for the press. I'm looking at them now on our screen. They just look so cool. Like it's so the Metropolis vibe. Let's round up the Cartier releases, Frank. I want to get your favorite and if you have one, the biggest surprise.
I think my favorite definitely is the Écorché in platinum, as mentioned before. I think it's just such a nice watch. It's understated, but it's bold. It's interesting. It's unique. So to me, that's both most surprising and my favorite design.
I have to say, I'm probably in the same boat as you. I'm a 200-piece limited edition, and when you say the words limited edition to me, I instantly get excited. But I think it's going to be that golden green. I don't know. It's just like you take a watch that's already like such a wow watch. You look at it and go, what the heck? And then you just make a golden alligator green. I think it's just a nice sort of combination there. And I like the balance. I do like the fact the other ones are like sort of unbalanced in a way, but I just think that sort of symmetrical look is so up my alley. So that's pretty much Cartier. We do have some crazy releases from them as well, which you can go head over to the website, manofmany.com, and read Rob's article on those. A lot of special women's releases with all the diamonds you could possibly want and the price tag to match. So they're pretty unique, but you can head over to the website to read all about that right now. I want to move into Rolex. We're going to do that in number 2. We're going to spend a little bit of time on this. So we've got to talk everything Land-Dweller. Obviously, that's the big headlining release. But I have a lot of personal picks in here. I actually wrote the article. You can also go read that at manofmany.com. And I've got a full breakdown of pricing for every single watch, every reference, every photo. So head over there, check that out. But for now, we're going to break it down. So let's get into it. A lot to unpack here. Honestly, when I got the email at midnight, when the clock strikes midnight, it didn't look like there was a whole bunch to unpack, and I got kind of excited because I wouldn't have to sit there for like 2 hours writing thousands of words about it. But then all of a sudden, you sort of research these things, and it just becomes so nuanced. But I want to make it as simple to understand as possible for the listeners out there. But we're going to start with the big release, which was teased by Roger Federer like 16 hours before it came out. It's the Land-Dweller. It's the elephant in the room, but we sort of knew this watch was coming because they'd filed patents in the US for the name Land-Dweller and Coast Dweller. So I think some insiders sort of knew it was coming, but they never tell us anything, no matter what we ask. So it got announced, Land-Dweller. So it's heading inland, basically. It's available in 6 different references, and I'm going to get your reactions to the prices because they are quite up there. Actually, more than 6 references. It's available in 10 references, but I put a few of my favorite numbers down here. I'm going to focus on the 40mm variants. You can get 2 variants, 36 and 40, all in the same spec. So I've got 5 of the 40mm references to quote here for price. Starts at 24,200 Australian dollars. Sounds not too bad, to be honest, for something that's quite technical. More on that in a second. You can also get it in, so that's in white roller saw, which is a combination of sort of white gold and metal, steel. So 24,200 for that. You can step up from there. It gets expensive. So you can have it Everose Gold, 74,900. Everose Gold Gem Set, 167,500. I actually love that they publish these prices though. And then you can just strip it back to just being platinum. Just platinum's 101,300. That comes with a special sort of icy blue dial. And then you can do my favorite, the one that I would buy, is the 40mm 950 platinum gem set, $186,500, which is up there. I think you're going to be some type of serious baller. I guess there's so many people out there that would do it, though. I can imagine all the rappers and athletes out there just to walk into the Rolex dealer and say, give me the most expensive version of the new watch you've got with factory set diamonds. So give me your reaction. What do you reckon? Let's just talk Land-Dweller and to that price as well.
Well, yeah, I think this is probably the most talked about release of this year's Watches and Wonders. The Rolex Land-Dweller is the most talked about.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting in terms of the pricing. Yeah, it's up there, but it's quite an interesting release because when you look at it visually, there's a lot of things going on. It's very Rolex, but at the same time, you can draw a lot of similarities with some other watches.
Yeah.
If we want to talk, let's talk about the design and the look and feel of it. So yeah, something about it, the integrated bracelet. This is the first integrated bracelet that Rolex has done in quite a while.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the key things about it that has people talking because, you know, the GOAT of integrated bracelets is the Royal Oak, the AP Royal Oak. So anytime any brand creates a watch with an integrated bracelet, you either got to design something that's so different from the Royal Oak that it just kind of stands alone, or design something that has some similarities of the Royal Oak and know that your watch is forever going to be compared to the Royal Oak. And I think Rolex is this new watch is something that a lot of people are looking at and saying it's like a Royal Oak. It's a Rolex version of a Royal Oak.
I've also seen a lot of people comparing it to a PRX, a Tissot, and I have to say to them, I've got an early look at the Land-Dweller here on my wrist. It looks a lot like a PRX, but I do like this. Okay, I did the article. I want to break it down into its parts. So, flat Jubilee bracelet, all new. It's just for this. I'm a big fan of it. I think it's so cool to call on the heritage of the Jubilee bracelet, but recreated in a flat sort of layout. Fluted bezel tells you it's a Rolex sort of straight away when you look at it. When we saw it on Federer's wrist, I think everyone instantly knew what it was. Honeycomb dial, I think, is a little bit of a controversial choice. I think some people have gone, what is that doing there?
Yeah, it's a bit Lamborghini.
Oh, it is a lot Lamborghini now you say that. Wow, like a little hexagonal. Interesting. I think it's a lot Lamborghini, actually. It's like sitting inside of Urus. I like the icy blue choice on the 950 Platinum, and the white on the stainless one's obviously clean too. Hands, indices, everything like that, I'm a big fan of. Strangely, and you can't unsee this, it only has a 9 and a 6. There's no other numbers on the dial, which is interesting to me, and it's kind of like you can't unsee it when you see it. But and they've put a nice large Rolex crown at the 12 o'clock. So I don't mind. I think it's balanced. I think I can't unsee the fact that it only has a 9 and a 6, but also like what else are they going to do? I think it has the day window and the massive crown at the top. So like I think I'd rather just have those two things there. No crown guard. It's clean. I'm a big fan of it. I think it looks very cool. I think the honeycomb is a controversial choice, but as if you were going to imagine Rolex making an integrated bracelet watch, I think you'd probably land on something like this. Sort of just a classic oyster quartz case, integrated flat Jubilee bracelet, fluted bezel, honeycomb dial is questionable, but apart from that, I think they've pretty much nailed this. And technically speaking, it's very impressive too.
Well, just on that as well, I think something about this that is quite striking are the highlights. And what I mean by that is on a bracelet, especially more the higher end you go in watches, what you'll notice is that certain surfaces are polished and certain surfaces are brushed, and the attention to detail that they put into that is what makes it really sparkle. So when you look at this watch, you'll see it pick up the light really well and it kind of sparkles and it's interesting and it looks like there's a lot of shine, a lot of highlights going on. And that's because if you look at the bracelet, they've got the links in the center, which have a high mirror polish. And then also kind of on the edges of those links, they're chamfered, so they're cut like 45 degrees, and some of those surfaces are polished, which picks up the light really well. On top of having that, trademark fluted bezel as well with that high polish and that shape, it really picks up the light. So when you wear it, it's like a piece of jewelry more so than like a tool watch kind of thing with all those kind of elements that pick up the light. So that's something about it that really gives it its brilliance.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this watch. 20% thinner than a Datejust as well is what I've heard. So like quite a nice thing that will slip under the shirt quite well. 36 and 40 millimeter. I think 40 millimeter is a good size. They could have maybe gone smaller, but I think 40 millimeter is pretty much perfect. That's also PRX sizing, so I think PRX is a good size. So I'm happy with the 40. Let's get into the caliber. So it's sort of a spin-off of the 7140, which we've seen in the 1908, and we'll talk a bit about that in a second. It's extremely impressive, insanely accurate. Measures time to a tenth of a second, which is wild. 5 hertz frequency. It's the first time they've ever done a 5 hertz frequency movement. 66 hours power reserve is so impressive, even like more impressive because of how fast the watch beats. Dynapulse escapement, which is a Rolex term they've sort of taken, just more efficient. But it's also fragile, and they've addressed that with a bunch of nice little suspension thingies inside the watch and everything like that. But I don't want to get too into it because it can get boring very quickly. But it's just exciting. I think they've created like a new movement that is technically just a showcase of what they're capable of in-house.
I think we can touch on that high beat movement and why that is important, why that's something that... why it is an important feature is that a high beat movement, what that means is that essentially the watch ticks faster. So it's every part and every piece in that watch is moving faster and faster than in something that has a lower beat, which means that all the parts are wearing and aging more quickly than another watch. So high beat movements, way back in the day, those watches, they'd be destroyed quickly. They made them, but then they wouldn't last as long because all the parts were working and wearing and aging a lot quicker. But over time, advancements in technology, advancements in materials and manufacturing process have allowed manufacturers to create these high beat watches and be able to withstand the test of time and last a lot longer.
So now's probably the best time for it because I guess that technology is right at the forefront. And I kind of, being a car guy, I reckon it's kind of like having a race engine in your watch, except you don't have to rebuild it after every race. It's like a drag engine in your watch, which is pretty cool. It's cool to have. It's kind of like, I guess you could just call this sort of like the Porsche GT3 of watches, where it has a race engine in a pretty nice looking case. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Are they too late to the integrated bracelet?
I don't think it's ever too late. I think, they're smart. They know what they're doing. Obviously, they've seen a demand for it, and I think it's just for them, it's more of a design. It gives them an extra pillar. They've got this watch, and we'll see multiple variations of this watch over the coming years. Yeah,
I think for sure. Obviously, there's ever rose gold now, but next year they're probably just going to release a yellow gold version as well. Why wouldn't they? And there'll be different dial colors, and maybe they'll even change the pattern on the dial. That honeycomb is growing on me, though, the more I look at it. Who's this watch for? Is it enthusiast?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's one that we'll find out soon. I think Rolex has always had a broad appeal with like the Submariner, the Day. The appeal's always been broad with Rolex. So I think this again will be quite broad. I don't think it'll specifically be just for the collectors. But time will tell.
Yeah, I think so. I think I don't know this for a fact, but I wouldn't be surprised if sort of like the early buyers are the people who get excited about it, but then also people that have always wanted a automatic Oyster quartz. Sort of the enthusiasts out there. I've already seen a lot of them online getting pretty excited about just having an integrated bracelet at this price point. It's pretty appealing. I think that's pretty much it for the old Land-Dweller. If you want to see a full breakdown of that movement, I've done it in the article over at manofmany.com. You can come check out my article. And I break it down and explain why all these things are so exciting. But it is a very, very cool watch, and I would love to have a race engine in my watch, though. It kind of slows down a little bit from there. We've got GMT Master 2, ceramic dial, green ceramic. So they've and it's lefty. So it's lefty again. So we saw the lefty in 2022, and they're basically taking that exact same watch. Everyone's calling it the Sprite or the Starbucks, and then flipped it with a green ceramic dial. So it's fairly simple. What are your thoughts on it? Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah,
Is it too basic? It's just a bit of a
it's a great watch.
Yeah,
but there's nothing it's nothing too new. It's just a nice addition, something different. Yeah, but that's about it. Obviously, it's quality. It's Rolex, but
I think if you were going to pull something out of it, I just love the look of ceramic as a material on a watch. I think having a ceramic dial on a watch, especially something that's pretty unique like this, I just think it looks great. I mean, the way it's hard to explain, but until you see a watch, I mean, this watch is 75,000, nearly 76,000 Australian dollars. So when you see a watch that's this high caliber, it's white gold in the flesh with a ceramic dial, it just looks super duper expensive. So I think you can write it off as a bit of a nothing release, but I don't think that's necessarily justified just because it all looks so damn expensive in person, and people are going to line up around the block to get them. So I mean, this watch, I would not be surprised to see this watch going for like nearly $100,000 on the secondary market. So yeah, I do get excited a little bit, but I mean, they could have in some ways is a bit of a tease because they could have gone so many different directions with this, but they've just basically chosen to update something they released a few years ago with ceramic. But I'd love to see them just keep it going. Like, why not make it different colors? Like, why go green? I don't know, but it does match the sort of bezel insert perfectly. So then it's a nice green. It's a nice sort of Starbucksy green, which I like. All right, I have a lot to say about these Oyster Perpetuals. They are literally just the same Oyster Perpetuals that we've seen, except we've got 41, 28, 36 OPs with 3 new dial colors. They like hiding a lot of these things in the configurator, and it can be a little bit confusing to figure out what is what. But I'm looking at a 41 millimeter pistachio dial right now, and it is just speaking to me. I don't know why. The pastels are just so hot. I think a watch that, I mean, it's smooth as well. A watch that looks like this is just my type of thing. It's so my vibe. I think the lavender is really cool at 28 millimeters. The beige on the 36 millimeter, I think, is just a nice subtle one for people that have too many watches. They just go, oh, I'll just get one of those. I think, but the pistachio 41 it has a redesign. Like the cases, everything's been trimmed a little bit more on the 41. It's a little bit Tudory, to be honest, but I'm a big fan of that watch. What do you reckon?
Yeah, some slight refinements. It's good. I think the colors, the pastels, they're nice. It's nice to have like a little pop of color, but nothing that's too overpowering. It makes it quite versatile. So yeah, I think it's an okay release. I think again, just small refinements, new color.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, pretty. I mean, keeping it simple sometimes is the best thing. I think in the past we've seen. What do we see? We saw a nice sort of pink. We saw the Tiffany turquoise, which is still available, I believe, from what I've seen in the configurator. Maybe they'll get rid of it. But quick note on the pricing. So 41 mil pistachio oyster seal, 10,550. 36 oyster seal with the beige, $10,050 Australian. And then the 28, I think it lands around the $9,000 mark. So sort of some of the more accessible ones. I wouldn't be surprised if you can kind of pick these up pretty simply at your local boutique. I know a few people that have got OP41s. They don't go for crazy money on the secondary market, so they should be fairly accessible. But yeah, so the 28 mil does have a different movement as a 22-32 caliber, while the bigger 36 and 41 have 32-30 caliber, 70 ounce power reserve. So it's also like quite technically impressive watch. And I think there are a lot of watches you can buy around that $10,000 price tag, but it does come in at sort of under 14 by quite a bit. So for 70 ounce power reserve, nice pastel dial, I think it's a pretty sort of cool release. Flies under the radar a bit. And also it's like from now on, the OP41 2025 release being a slightly different case will also make it slightly more collectible moving forward. So they've improved it. All right, let's do kind of another one that's just a little quickie is the Perpetual 1908. So this watch originally released in 2023 to replace the Cellini. named after the year Rolex was trademarked, and this year it's coming in yellow gold with a new bracelet. It is a stunning bracelet and 7 bands or 7 rings in the bracelet. I'm big fan of it. What's your take?
Yeah, I love it. Love the bracelet. Love the design in yellow gold. I think it's lovely. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I think don't really need to say much more than that, to be honest. Yeah, yellow gold white dial, 66 hours power reserve. 7140 caliber movement. I don't know. I guess the only argument for this watch is like, are they going to sort of add those? Are they going to make it high beat? I guess because there's the 7135 in the new Land-Dweller is like a sort of different version of this 7140. I guess an improved version of it. So I wonder if eventually this cops the 7135 too. But
And what's this one retailing for?
That is a very good question. Hopefully I wrote it down. Probably a lot of money. Thanks for the setup. $56,700. That's a lot of watch for the money, I have to say, to be honest. I think the standard one's around the $42,000 mark. So yeah, you can typically tack on about 15 and 20 for yellow gold at a Rolex dealer. And yeah, I think it looks cool. New bracelets is a big upgrade. It's a brand new bracelet too. So kind of, it's very vintage in design. I think it leans even more into the sort of vintage aesthetic of the 1908 than the previous release. So big fan of that. Another one we can probably breeze over, to be honest, is the Datejust 31. Just a beautiful women's watch, $78,800, gem set, sort of smaller in size, but still, I think they've packed all the premium, those expensive materials. There's a new ombre dial. Yeah, big fan of this one. I think it's just for the ballers out there, pretty much, on a President bracelet. It's baller as it gets. President bracelet, gem set, ombre dial, gold. Like, you name it, it's got it. Pretty much. Any thoughts on that one? Anything to nitpick in there, or just a nice release?
Yeah, it's just a nice release. That sunburst dial is beautiful. That red ombre. I think that's just such a beautiful color, especially with that sunburst pattern. And then the diamond, the contrasting pop of, sparkle.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think maybe you could critique Rolex in the past for sort of not giving the women the bolder sort of designs, but I think the fact this pretty much has everything is just a nice little thing to have. I think if you got $78,800 lying around, then it's an absolute cop. All right, now the exciting part, and this is the thing that like the Rolex forums get excited about, is when they bring out it's so funny when you get the press release, they always just say new dials for Daytona Skydweller and GMT Master 2. And then you look at it and you're like, whoa, there's a lot happening here. There's way more happening here than they might say, or like state in the press release. But let's get into it. So we've got a sort of Tiffany Cosmograph Daytona. We've got a Australia edition, green and gold, Skydweller, and a crazy Tiger iron dial on the GMT Master 2. Retail on the Daytona, $59,000. Retail on the Skydweller, $88,800. Nice lucky number there. GMT Master 2, $80,300. So some nice high price points. That Daytona is going to absolutely crank. If you can get that, good luck to you. But let's break it down. Let's start with the Daytona. Turquoise dial. Don't call it a Tiffany. Just a beautiful watch, I think. I love the contrast of the gold with the black rubber strap. You name it. It's got it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that dial is just such a pop of color, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's nice.
I love when they do this every year with the Daytona. It's just like, okay, everyone wants a stainless steel Daytona, and then they're like, no, you can't have that. So we'll give you this crazy yellow gold, or even what did they bring out? They had the moon, meteorite. I just love what they do with the Daytona every year. They're like, you can't have a stainless. Well, good luck if you can get a stainless, but you can have this crazy, or maybe you can have this crazy, like, proper F-off Daytona. Where, like, I love the burgundy platinum one. I love the meteorite dial. And this is just like, okay, we're going to be 16 months late to the Tiffany game, but we're just going to put black and yellow gold on it. And I think it's just so baller. I'm a massive fan of it.
Yeah.
I think contrasting sub-dials, like, it's just so hot. And I think until you see one of these things in person, I don't know if people out there have had a chance to see a Daytona, like a special novelty Daytona in person, but they look so expensive. They're proper baller watches, even though the price tag is like somewhat reasonable. It's not $100,000+ watch at retail price, at least. Sky Dweller is just a beautiful. I mean, people call this the Australia spec, I guess, because it's green and gold, classic Aussie watch nerd thing. But who doesn't love a green dial? And especially when you put a Sky Dweller on a nice yellow gold case, it's just so hot to me.
Yeah, it's good to see those Aussie colours shining through.
Yeah, I just love Sky Dweller. And then GMT Master 2 on the iron. It has a Tiger iron dial, and I'm not going to lie to you, I had no idea what this was, but apparently it's a combination of a bunch of rare stones. It's Everose, it's sort of root beery on the bezel. It's just a crazy thing, and I guess it's just another just novelty from Rolex in 2025 that is going to sell out. It probably already has sold out, at least for the next 12 months, and go for a lot of money. But I mean, I like it. I think it's really cool. I think people, when this watch got leaked, I just remember everyone. I didn't get leaked, I guess, but people sort of knew it might be coming. And from a distance, it looks kind of like one of those, like a bus seat. I don't know. From
Like
a distance, kind of
the pattern that you see on the public transport.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at it from here. We've got it on the screen over here, and it's just like, what is that? It looks kind of like a bus seat, but I guess it's it's a iron tiger iron.
I always wonder like how they choose that. It's such a how they choose that rare stone. Like out of all the stones you could choose, you chose tiger iron.
Yeah,
like why?
Yeah, I do wonder that.
No, that's not a bad thing.
No,
but I just wonder what the process was to coming to the conclusion that this is what we're gonna release.
Yeah, because it's not like year of the tiger or anything random like that. I think it's just, they must just have this stuff planned out maybe years ahead. So maybe the guys on the ground can let us know if they get to the bottom of that one. But yeah, I'd love to know. I think it looks cool. I think when you get a GMT Master 2 and you make it crazy, I think you're taking a tool watch and you're making it, I mean, it's just another F-off watch where it's just ever rose gold with a tiger on it. I mean, it's the watch nerd's watch. It's like when you're at Watches and Wonders and you don't know what to wear, like it's just a go-to. It's like, it'd be so obvious. You'd be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to whip out the tiger iron. But again, like these things, they're fun watches to look at and they're highly collectible, but they're also just technically like such amazing watches made to such a high standard. All the materials are always, the highest of quality. And technically they're great watches too. So like, 70 hours power reserve, it's a GMT Master 2. So, not much else to say about that one, but I think those three releases at the end together are just fun and exciting to me. I think if I had to choose one, I'm going probably Tiffany Daytona. What about you?
I'm going Tiger Iron.
Yeah,
Tiger Iron for sure. Yeah.
All out. Yeah, I think it's cool. Are you a rose? Do you like the Ever Rose Gold stuff?
I'm not really that into Ever Rose Gold in general. Usually, there are some. Every different brand has their slightly different rose gold formula and the color. I usually would prefer yellow gold over rose gold. I say that as if I have all these like gold watches.
It's nice to dream. That's like 95% of watches. It's just dreaming. So yeah, I think I do like Rolex. It's quite pink. I quite like the Everose because it just leans a little bit more pink. But especially on like these watches are so serious. When you make them a little bit more fun, I think it just makes it interesting to me. All right, let's get to the recap. All right, let's wrap up Rolex. I think we just did like half an hour Rolex. I planned to do 20 minutes, so here we are. I want to ask you your favorite model first from the release.
I have to say the Land-Dweller. Land-Dweller, just because it's different, it's unique. Even though I'm not 100% sold on it, but I'm not 100% sold on it. But I just think it's interesting and I think it's different and, I like that. I think that there's a lot of quirky things about it that I really appreciate. Yeah.
Are you going platinum or...
Platinum.
Yeah, I think platinum is probably the move. I like that ice blue. I think there'll be quite a few of the roller saw ones out there, and I think if you go platinum, or if you had the chance to go platinum for $100,000, it's a cool one. I think it's a cool enthusiast choice. Even just the watch in general is an enthusiast choice. Not sold personally on the honeycomb, but now you've told me it looks like a Lamborghini. I'm probably even sold. But, I don't know. I don't even think it would look better with if it was just a normal, like even an ombre dial, ceramic dial. I don't think it would necessarily look better. So I think honeycomb's a cool move. For me, I'm going to try not to just say Tiffany Daytona because it's pretty cliche, and that's typical of me. But I think I'm going Pistachio OP41. It's just a hot watch. I think it's just so. I mean, they would just go with anything. You could wear that with a suit, black suit. It would look so good with. But even just on the daily, it's just understated, smooth bezel, redesigned case. Yeah, good 70-hour power reserve. I mean, I can't complain about that watch. I love it, and $10,000 is a fair price to pay for a Rolex in 2025, I reckon. All right. Most surprising watch release from Rolex?
GMT with Tiger Iron. Like out of anything that you can make.
Why?
It looks cool. Yeah, it looks good.
I think I
it's
like
just,
the look
but
of
it's
it.
just like, oh, really?
Yeah, Tiger Iron. I thought, and I said it. It kind of looks like a bus seat, but I mean, I'm kind of into it.
It works.
Yeah, it works. I think when you see next to someone with it in Ever Rose too, like I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm into it. I think I'm kind of alongside you there. But if I had to say most surprising, I think it's even the fact they've made the Land-Dweller 36 mil. I think it's interesting. Like when Rolex typically puts out a release, they don't necessarily cater to everyone, but they've catered to everyone here, which is cool. You can have a gem set, you can have it Ever Rose, you can have it platinum, you can have it roller saw, you can have it in so many different ways. And then they've gone, okay, we're going to do that, but we'll also make it 36 mil. So I think they're trying to go for like a decent amount of volume with this release, and I think it appeals to everyone out there, men, women. And I think it's cool they've done that. I didn't expect them to do that. I thought they might just bring out one. Like when they had the 1908, they pretty much just released like a new model. We're just going to give you, a couple versions of it, but they got 10 different references for the Land-Dweller. So that was cool. The watch itself, I mean that's got to be one of the most leaked watch in the world in Rolex for the last couple of years. So I just want to know what that Coast Dweller looks like whenever that comes out. So I'm getting excited.
Yeah, I wonder whether next year we're going to see more leaks from some celebrities, some celebrity sightings of some new product. I think now that Rolex has done it, we'll see it from other brands as well.
Yeah, I think it'll be a trend moving forward for sure. If you had to pick one to wear, what are you going?
As a daily driver, probably just the Oyster Perpetual in beige. It's just understated, clean, knock it around, no fuss kind of thing, and it's good. It's a beautiful watch.
I think they wear quite well too. I mean, like literally, and over time, I think little nicks and scratches on an Oyster Perpetual kind of adds a bit of character to it. Beige? You going beige?
Yeah, I'm going beige. I think the beige as well, it looks a bit vintage. Like it has a vintage feel to it. So I like that about it.
I think the thing about the beige for me, which personally ruined it a little bit, is I'm not a linen dial fan. Like I know there's a lot of linen dial Rolex fans out there, but I'm not one of them. I think it's a similar vein to me, and I think when I look at it, I go, it's not really for me. But I think it's a classy choice. I think Pistachio for me. I would even go lavender on a 36. I think that could look kind of cool, but I'm a 41 guy. I think 36 sizings, it's a good size. Like you can definitely wear it, but I think I'm a 41 guy. I like your choice. I think Oyster Perpetual as a daily driver is just such a good choice.
Yeah, and I think too in the beige as well, it's a bit more of a if you know, you know. It's not drawing attention. You just kind of
that's
just
so
wear
true,
it's a bit more discreet.
Yeah, I think I like that discreet nature to it. What am I wearing every day? I think I'm going to go platinum Land-Dweller gem set, $180,000. No, I reckon. Oh, it's a tough one. Man, what am I going to do? I'm like randomly on the gold watch thing right now. I don't know why. I really don't think I can wear a gold watch, but the Aussie Sky Dweller. Yeah. Why not? Like green dial, I think it was the thing to have. I think it was 4 years ago, maybe even less, 2 years ago. But that green and gold, baby, rev the Aussies. Rev the Aussies.
What about this? Well, I got one for you. Yeah. I think this is right up your alley. So I think 2026 they might come out with the Land-Dweller yellow gold with their rainbow gem set.
That's so amazing. Why not? That's like the Land-Dweller even more ostentatious. Yeah, I think that'd be crazy. But I'm going Sky Dweller. I think that's the move for me. I just love that watch in general. Even like white gold. I think it's an underrated watch. Like whenever you see, I think you go to things like I remember at F1. So the funny thing about F1 this year is that obviously it's LVMH, so everything's tag, and I'm a massive tag guy, but everyone still is wearing their Rolexes. And you were not a cool person if you're wearing a Submariner or a GMT Master 2. I mean, you're a bit cooler, or a Datejust, but you were a pretty cool person if you have a Skydweller. Or I mean, even a Daytona, man. I think I saw a million Daytonas, so I think of that crowd, I'm going Skydweller, and I think the Aussie edition Skydweller. So, yeah, that's me. That pretty much sums us up, I think, for Rolex. We've done probably 50 minutes on Rolex at this point. We try and keep it short, but there are so many things to unpack with this brand. And I reckon it might be time to get into a new brand. So, Frank, I want to talk about Tudor. So, it's been a pretty big week already so far. We've seen Rolex. We've already talked about Cartier, but Tudor's kind of the accessible, fun entry point for a lot of people to Swiss watches and the higher end stuff. So I want to break it down. They've got a bunch of stuff coming back that's being sort of re-released for this year with new colors, but also some new certifications, some METAS stuff. So without further ado, let's do Black Bay 58. So their top selling model, it's coming back in a burgundy coloration with 3 references as steel bracelet, rubber strap, and fabric strap for this one. And it's kind of like a nice cherry color, I reckon. A bit of a cherry glow. A little Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, a little bit of burnt red kind of thing.
Yeah, I think the Black Bay 58 is got to be one of the best sort of mid-range watches out there. Price-wise, I'll cover it off. So steel bracelet is going to be most expensive, $6,850. Rubber strap, $6,690, and then fabric, $6,370. So it's a lot of watch for the money, I reckon. The specs are quite strong on this. So optional 5-link bracelet, and those prices, by the way, that was on the steel bracelet. The 5-link bracelet's going to be a little bit more expensive. Let's get to the caliber. So it's now an MT 5400U, U meaning METAS certification. So a bit more of an accurate
precision.
Yeah,
precision. It's all about precision.
Yeah, 0 to 5 seconds a day on that, and 65 hours power reserve. So it's up there.
Yeah,
classic Tudor.
It is classic Tudor. And for those who don't know, Tudor is accompanied by the same founder as Rolex. So it's always been seen as quite a good alternative to Rolex. And this design as well, the 5-link bracelet, is very reminiscent of the Rolex Jubilee bracelet, which is quite nice and sits on the wrist quite well.
Yeah, I like this size too, 39 millimeter. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this watch, and obviously a lot of people are too because it's their top seller. So what do you think about, is the burgundy dial, and the bezel as well, is that too aggressive for a lot of people, or what do you think? Because we've seen green and blue sort of take off. Is burgundy going to take off next?
I don't know. I can't see that getting like a huge adoption. Like I think it's kind of nice. I don't know. For me, that wouldn't be the color that I would choose, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that gets taken up.
Yeah, and how much do you think the sort of Rolexness of this watch helps it out? Like, is it a nice watch in its own right? I know it has like the snowflake on the hour hand and things like that. Is it just sort of like a takedown Rolex?
No, I think I think it depends who's buying it. Yeah. You know, some people do buy it just because of the Rolex similarities, but for me personally, I think it stands alone by itself as quite a nice watch and a beautiful design. Yeah,
I'm big into the Tudors. I know when we've had them through the office, we're going to get these through the office too to do a hands-on with. But they feel like beyond their price point. I know the price point is not a cheap watch by any means, but I mean, if you told me this was a $10,000 watch, I'd totally believe you. There's a few things on it that I would like to maybe see in the future. Like, I don't mind a crown guard, like the fact it doesn't have a crown guard, even just for the functional element of it, where it sort of gets hooked on things.
It's one of the polarizing things about it, isn't it? The crown guard. I think part of me, I like it without the crown guard because I think that's Tudor, like that's the look. I think once you add the crown guard, it takes away from what that watch is. But yeah, like from a functional perspective, the crown guard's there. But at the same time is, how often are you taking it scuba diving?
It probably doesn't matter so much unless you're taking it underwater. But speaking of underwater, the Pelagos Ultra. This thing, honestly, price-wise, I'll get into the specs in a second because they're pretty impressive, but we'll just start with the price just to set the benchmark. $8,840. And this is a lot of watch, I think, for that sort of money. So titanium case, grade 5 case back, 43 millimeter in size, so it's a big boy, 1,000 meters water resistant, and you're getting a Medas master chronometer as well. So that's a lot of watch, I think, for the money. To get a titanium watch from Tudor, Swiss made, with in-house movement, 1,000 meters water resistant, it's pretty impressive.
Definitely.
Is the size going to turn people away though?
Maybe, but I think you're buying it. If you're buying this, you're not thinking about the size. I think this is a watch I think this is for the collector. This is someone who wants that, watch that they've taken to the next level, and good to see that Tudor is pushing it that way. Yeah. Again, it's one of those things. It's 1,000 meters water resistant. I don't know anyone who's even taking these watches diving, but 1 kilometer under the sea.
You could though, right?
But you could. That's the thing, and it's
like
titanium.
Deep sea challenge. Yeah, it's like I got a gigantic watch, but I could go 13,000 meters down. Yeah, crazy. I don't know if this watch is for me necessarily. I think it'd be cool if they did like a sort of crazy version of it, but that's not really in Tudor's realm. I think that's more like a Rolex thing when they did that solid gold deep sea. Like, there's a bit of a middle finger watch, but I know the spec on this is impressive.
It's a good, it's a symbol of innovation, I think, for Tudor. Yeah. So yeah, I really like it. I think having that titanium watch and the price point for what you get is pretty amazing. Yeah,
titanium case, titanium bracelet with a T-fit, and it comes with a rubber strap and a wetsuit extension. So they're definitely like pushing people to sort of explore the capability of the watch, but I think it's just a nice thing to have in the box at home, I think. Manufacturer caliber MT5612U, so Metas. And yeah, I think it's just an overall pretty nice watch. Is it? We'll see. We'll see how we get to at the end of where this sits on the sort of rankings for Tudor this year, but I reckon it's sort of getting up there for me. So the next release, I think this is another underrated one. I think it looks really good. Black Bay 68. So they've gone bigger this year. Last year they went Black Bay 54. This year they've gone 68. Price wise, $6,990. You can have it in 2 different dial choices. 43 millimeter diameter. So it's bigger than a Black Bay 58. Obviously bigger than Black Bay 54. And I think the standout one here for me is no faux rivets on the bracelet. So the faux rivets on the Black Bay bracelets, that's a tongue twister, have always been a bit of a contentious point for people because it's like, why do you have fake rivets on like a tool watch? And I think they've gone away from it here. The bigger case size, though, I'm not sure if that's an attractive thing for me, but the fact there's no faux rivets, I'd love to see that just trickle down to other watches in the lineup too. But what's your take on it? I mean, it's a pretty beautiful watch. You've got 2 different dial colors, blue and silver. I think blue for me, but what do you reckon?
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I've got little dainty wrists, so I think it's a bit big for me, so I'd probably stick to the 58. Yeah. But it's a nice watch. Again, it's another option for those with bigger wrists. Yeah. It's a great option. I like the blue.
I don't mind. I think there's a little bit of a movement back towards bigger watches this year, because there was definitely a flip a while ago, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, to smaller 36 and below size watches, and I'm in love with those watches. I think I love a smaller watch, but I think brands shouldn't be scared about going to the bigger boys as well.
Yeah, I think we're in a bit of a transition phase as well. Like, there's still people who are into the small watches, still people who are moving back to the larger watches. So I think you see brands catering for both sizes, and I think that's the way it should go forward. I hope that the trend doesn't go back to just bigger watches or stick to just smaller watches. I hope that people just get to choose what they want. You can have a bit of both.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think it's similar to like even Rolex with the Land-Dweller, just having that option out there of 36 or 40. The more options, the better, because you get the watch that you actually want versus the watch you sort of pushed into. So on a watch this size, I would like a crown guard. I'm going to go out there and say it because I'm looking at a photo of it right now, and it's like, that's a big crown, and that's going to get hooked on things, and also destroy my wrist. But for the spec, you've got a 3-link stainless steel bracelet. Obviously smooth sides on that, no faux rivets, thank God. Manufacturer caliber MT5601U, which means Metas, master chronometer, and 70 hours power reserve. So it's got all the spec, and that's the stuff. That's the thing about Tudor. I bang on about it all the time, but like, you're getting highly specified watches, almost touching Rolex in terms of the technical elements in a watch it's under $7,000 this watch in Australia. So pretty impressive.
Yeah, they're solid performers, quality, precision. Yeah. You can't go wrong.
No, and they're made well and they look great. They look expensive, I think, which is important. My favorite. We'll go to the next watch. Tudor Black Bay Pro. I freaking love this watch. I think my watch is Rolex Explorer 2 Polar, and this is basically a takedown version of that. But I just think it looks so good with this white opaline dial. The spec is there again. I'll run you quickly through the spec and the sizing. 39mm case, polished and satin, opaline domed crystal, opaline dial, 24-hour graduated fixed bezel, satin brush, manufacturer caliber MT5652. It's COSC. So it's not Metas, which is interesting, but it is COSC, so that's still pretty good. 200 meters water resistant. And I mean, all those just sound so good to me. The size, the quality, the look of it, the dial, everything is just speaking to me. I don't know. What do you reckon? Do you like it?
Yeah, like at first glance, you look at it and think Explorer, Rolex Explorer. But it's a great alternative to that, and I think it's great. I think I can't fault this watch whatsoever. I think the design's beautiful. Yeah. It's got that COSC certification, so you know the precision and accuracy is top notch. And it's just a great watch.
Yeah, 70 hours power reserve. I mean, I'll run through the pricing. $6,540 on the stainless, $6,060 on the rubber, and same price on the fabric. So that's pretty good. I think the fabric one. If we go to the next photo, the fabric I'm big into that. It's got the yellow sort of line down the middle of it, but I don't know what I'd do because I kind of want both because I like the casual nature of this watch being like definitely leaning harder into the tool side of things. But I also like the stainless bracelets for more of like a dress up. You know, you could potentially pull this off with a suit, but even just on like a weekend, I reckon it'd be nice to have a stainless steel bracelet, but a fabric strap as a daily. I'm big into that, the comfort. And these Tudor straps, we've used them in the past and they're super comfy, very high quality. The next one is pretty much finishing out Tudor's releases for 2025. They've got two like inline chrono models, Black Bay chronos, and then they've got a third crazy turquoise thing that David Beckham loves posing in. And I think big Miami vibes, big like beach vibes, which to me, maybe, I don't know, is this a controversial take? I don't know if I love that for a chrono. But we'll start with the core inline models. You've got Panda and Reverse Panda pretty much. As a Panda man yourself, what's your take on this watch?
It's good. I love the Reverse Panda.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful. I love that kind of the dark face with just the pop of white coming on those subdials.
Yeah.
You know, that'd be my pick. It's quite stealthy, I reckon.
Yeah, big stealth. Pricing while we're here. So you can have it on a 5-link or a 3-link bracelet. $8,640 on the 3-link, and then $8,800 on the 5-link. And I think obviously I'm going the 5-link. I just love that bracelet. I mean, it's like a Jubilee bracelet, but I think it looks great.
Yeah.
Spec 41mm stainless steel case. Obviously I mentioned the different bracelets. It's COSC and 70 hours power reserve from the MT5813 chronograph movement. So good spec. Again, it's Tudor, so you know you got to get a good watch out of them. If there's one thing I could poke a hole in, it's the size of the pushers. They're they're quite big. They protrude out quite a lot, and I'm not sure if I'm a massive fan of that. I mean, I love a chronograph, but I can't vibe with these pushers for whatever.
Yeah. See, I'm the opposite.
Right,
I love
okay.
it. I think it looks more like it's very stopwatchy. It looks like it's built to be pressed.
True.
Whereas often, you know, you get like a little discreet pusher and it's just, you know, it looks like it's for show. But when you see those big ones, it's got the kind of, it's not a knurled detail, but the detail on the edge around the pushers. It just looks like it needs to be pushed and wants to be pushed, and looks like it actually functions. Like it's made for actually timing things.
Yeah, no, you're selling me on it. I don't know. I look at it and I'm like, why is it sticking out like almost more than the crown is? But
it's very sporty.
That's
though.
the reason, I guess.
It's very sporty. I think it makes it harder to dress up. You can always dress it up, but it having those kind of big chunky pushes makes it a bit less discreet if you are wearing it as a dress watch.
Yeah, and I think obviously a lot of people would. I really like just the straight up Panda. I love a white dial. I'm such a massive fan of a white dial on a watch, any watch pretty much. That's why I like that sort of polar Tudor. The Flamingo Blue, do you have any takes on this? It's the same price. It's $8,800. You get it on the 5-link bracelet. It comes as it is. But That's a seriously popular watch.
Well, as every brand has to do a watch with that color, you know, turquoise, flamingo blue.
Yeah.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Are there actually blue flamingos?
I don't know. I just know that the baby flamingos are some of the ugliest things I've ever looked at in my life. I don't think I've ever seen a baby flamingo. It's like, has anyone ever seen a baby pelican? They don't exist.
I don't know.
No, they don't exist.
I'm sure they do. But
I don't
anyway,
know.
let us know. Whoever's listening, let us know if you've seen a blue flamingo or if they exist. Drop
Why
a
is it
comment.
Flamingo, yeah, like, that makes no sense. Like they're pink, right? So they're calling it flamingo. Then they did a pink one.
Yeah. Was that pink flamingo when they did that pink colorway?
Maybe that was it. So flamingo blue. There you go. I think if we're going to be nitpicky, I'd kind of wish it's like you take the hex and you just push it a little bit too far to the blue side of things. I think when brands just fully go all out and just make a Tiffany, I kind of like a greeny blue than this is. I think this is more of a bluey blue. But
See, I have a theory on this, is that the reason why they would push it that far is because they know the type of person who buys it is the type of person who wants to show it and wants people to comment on it. So they want to make it nice and vibrant so that this person can be like an advocate for their brand and can kind of talk about it. So if they make it too understated, they're not going to get as many comments.
Is this a watch that, like, who's buying this watch? Is this just a collector? Is this a 20th watch, or is this someone that, like, because I don't know how, I can't say even if I bought this watch that I'd actually wear it all that often. Like, it's just so out there. I don't know if, like, if you've got 6 watches sitting in front of you in the morning, I don't know if I'd pick it up. Because it's pretty out there. But I mean, I like it. I like the idea of it. I think it looks good, but the wearability to me is, like, maybe questionable. But
Yeah, I think once you have a few,
Yeah.
maybe, but
Yeah.
it'd be hard if you know. If
Yeah,
you
this is your
got
only
one or
watch.
two,
I
it's
don't know.
like,
I don't think necessarily could. If you're going to pick up a watch from this release, I'm like, that's a pretty aggressive choice. But I think
unless you're a flamingo trainer, breeder.
if you love birds. All right. Well, I want to wrap it up a little bit. So we've pretty much talked about all their releases. If you want to read more about these releases and all the details, all the pricing, all the reference numbers, and get really into the weeds, check out my article at manofmany.com right now. I've broken it all down with all of the technical detail for you. But to wrap up the Tudor releases, let's talk about your favorite and if there were any surprises that stood out to you.
Well, my favorite is definitely the Ultra. I think having that for that price point, titanium, 1,000 meters depth, like that's, you know, they're really pushing it, and value for money. It's expression and a show of Tudor's innovation. I like that they're pushing boundaries in that way.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time, you know, it is just these slight refinements which improve the watch, but kind of going a bit bolder with something like that is quite impressive. And especially going back to their kind of, you know, their roots, like, you know, they are known as a dive watch company. Yeah. So to create something like that, I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'm big into that one. If I had a zag, I'd probably go burgundy, to be honest. I'm kind of had enough with, you know, green dial, blue dial, etc. Like, let's just do the burgundy.
Burgundy Benny.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I saw that watch and I didn't appreciate it much until I saw it on the wrist. I mean, Tudor, granted, they have like some of the best stock imagery out of all the watch brands, because they properly shoot these things and like fully lookbook it out with like the right models with the right clothing on. And I mean, it's just selling it to me looking at it right now with this burgundy sweater the person's wearing with burgundy dial and the 5-link. I'm like, oh, that looks pretty good. I don't know, I'm into it. I think if they did, I mean, at this price point, it's very hard to do. It's under $7,000. But I don't love an aluminium bezel insert. I prefer like a more of like a ceramic, like a submariner type of thing, GMT type of thing. But I mean, it's hard to argue with the price point, and I think it's well finished. The crown does still stick out to me a little bit, but I don't know. I'm nitpicking. I think it's just like sometimes you see these things and you like try and convince yourself you don't like it, even though you do. So yeah, big fan of it. I also think the wearability factor on a burgundy is underrated. I reckon you could totally wear this. Like black suit, they look great. Just like a casual, everyday white t-shirt, that watch would pop too. I think that's why people love the blue and the green dials, just because they have that little bit of pop. And I'm a big fan of that. So yeah, give me that burgundy.
Yeah, I think you'd look good, burgundy Tudor on the wrist and just head to toe dripping in burgundy,
full burgundy,
some cashmere.
Yeah, oh man, that'd be That'd be a proper fit. You're the serious fit guy if you're pulling that off. Yeah, I think I'm a big. And also I think these releases compared to like we just did Rolex. Yeah, they're not necessarily like pushing the boundaries too much in terms of the like what you can see visually. I think technically that Ultra is obviously pushing the boundaries quite a lot with 1,000 meters of water resistance or waterproofness. But I just love how they basically refine their inline models. Even that Black Bay 58, which I keep going on about with the METAS certification now, 65 hours power reserve, very accurate watch, even more enticing. And they're sort of, they're not necessarily distancing themselves from Rolex, but, they're very much their own brand now. And I think in the last 3 to 5 years, I've seen that just constantly evolve. I think maybe 5 years ago, they were, not necessarily like they didn't have the certifications that a lot of these watches have. They were definitely like a takedown Rolex, but I think now they are definitely more and more standing in their own light.
Yeah. And especially since no one can get Rolexes anyway.
Yeah, at the end of the day, these other Rolexes you can just actually go and buy.
Yeah.
And in some cases, you have to buy a few of these. So, I'm a big fan of these releases this year. And I think, we have a point, a talking point here saying who won. Watches and Wonders, Tudor or Rolex. And I think they live in their own light.
Yeah.
Like, you can't compare them. I think I love all those Rolex releases. Land-Dweller was a massive hit. Even from the traffic numbers we've seen on our website, like that watch has been popular amongst the audience. So, you can't compare the two. But they're nice. They live in their own light now.
And if someone wanted to learn more about these watches, where could they find a bit of extra info? Again,
you can head over to manofmany.com. Even just Google search Tudor Watch Releases 2025. You'll see the Man of Many article sitting at the pointy end there. And read all about it. I am a nerd and I broke down all the reference numbers. I pulled out all the prices from the website and linked out to them. So you can even go contact your retailer about getting some of these things through our website. And you can also read all of our Watches and Wonders 2025 coverage up on the website. Right now on the homepage, head to the watches category. There is like 20 articles or more written by some of the guys on the ground. Rob is over there with John shooting photos.
In Geneva,
on the ground at Watches and Wonders. We've got Bell and Ross in-hand stuff or on-wrist stuff right now over at the website. Read the Rolex article. Check out our best of lists as well. We're focusing on the brands here in the studio, but Dimitri, one of our watch writers, is over there putting down some best of lists with some crazy stuff, some Vacheron, just things that you can't even get your head around when you see the complications of some of these watches. But yeah, so much to check out at manofmany.com. Head over there and onto our socials too at manofmany across all channels. This has been our mashup of all of Rolex, Tudor's, and Cartier's releases at Watches and Wonders 2025. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening.